Tim?
Good morning.
Morning, Tim. How are you?
No, I'm here.
That's a positive.
It's a step.
Yeah, multiple steps actually.
Before we get started again. I don't need to get in the office very much. It must be on my desk, but just as long as somebody's got something.
Oh, thank you, Dory.
Yep. restroom was not cooperating really well for her this morning.
All right, we're live.
All right, good morning, everybody. Let's call our first meeting to order here at 8:33. It's the meeting for the Yates County Capital Resource Corporation. We'll start with an introduction of guests. We have Steve in person with Harris Beach, and we have his partner Russ Genzel online with us today. So thank you guys for participating, keeping us all in line. We'll get going with the agenda. First, an executive session if needed. I think we have a need for it today. We'll move on to the review and approval of our minutes from our March 15th meeting. Did anybody have any questions or?
Move to approve.
Second.
Second, Judy. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, carried. Do we have any changes in the agenda?
Yeah, the pending loan didn't get quite all the documentation and they needed, received their application, but not some of the additional info we were looking for, so we'll have to table that one.
Okay.
Scratch that,
Should be brought back for June.
which lightens the load for the rest of the agenda.
Yeah.
So really all we have is the finance report
I
for
don't
this.
have anything to report today.
And
Check.
there's nothing to report. So with that, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Thanks, Tim and Amy. And we don't need to vote on that. We are adjourned. I'll call the next meeting to order, which is for the Finger Lakes Horizon EDC. And we have the same guests. Do we need an executive session for this one?
We do. We're not, right, can't vote, you can abstain, so we don't have.
I guess you can discuss it and hope somebody shows up in the meantime.
Yeah.
What about,
We can go into the other meeting and then.
which one is it?
And sending results, so do both.
Is there anything that can't be voted on in the other meeting?
What we're talking about is both of the potential action items have lending relationships with my bank.
In
Not
both?
me- Not me personally, but with our bank, and so I should abstain.
In both meetings? Both Horizon and Development Center?
No, just Horizon.
Just Horizon, so I'm wondering, though, we gave the notice of the times, this would be 8:32, and the other ones after
I think it was 8:34. I think I did a couple minutes between
Yeah,
them,
it's
so we're
8:30.
good
Well,
to
we
go.
could suspend this meeting, enter into the, call it to the EDC meeting in session, and then move on.
Sounds good.
Is that all right? Okay, so I'd ask for a motion to suspend the Horizon EDC meeting until a little later this morning.
So moved, Cutler.
Second, Mary Ann.
Mary Ann, thank you. All right. We will then call to order the meeting for the Finger Lakes Economic Development Center. And we'll start with that. Do we have a need for an executive session for this meeting?
We do, to discuss financials of a particular company.
Okay, and I'd ask for a motion to enter executive session for that purpose.
So moved, Mary
Thanks,
Ann.
Mary Ann.
Second.
Second, Amy. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
Mary Ann.
Amy.
Amy, second.
Kim is sad she's not running the meeting.
I'm not sad. I was happy to see you. I came in late.
Yeah.
8 a.m. meeting in Geneva got canceled at about 5:30 or 6 last night.
That was me, sabotaged it.
So. Yeah. Thanks for that.
We're live.
Right. I'd ask for a motion to exit executive session and enter open session.
So moved.
Seconded, Kim.
We're gonna Serene beat Tim to it, and then Kim the second. Right. So we're in open session. Are there any? Well, we'll do the minutes here first. So the minutes from our April meeting were in our packets.
Move to approve, Cutler.
Thank you, Tim.
We can
Second.
discuss them.
Second, Serene. Is there any discussion or any changes for the minutes? No? All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? All right, that's carried. Any changes to the agenda for this one? Okay. Turn it over to Doreen for the finance report. We had the P&L and the balance sheet and the loan capitalization reports all in the packet.
So-
Doreen has specific checks to go over with us that she
Yep.
sent out yesterday.
Checks totaling $89,867.61. Check number 6213 to 6246, and E125 to E127. And the reason the check amount is so high is because we're paying out the Finger Lakes Railroad pilot to the municipalities. It's roughly $54,000.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody have any questions on any of the reports.
Move to approve, Cutler.
All right, thank you, Tim. And a
Second.
Amy. Any further discussion or questions for Doreen? All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's carried. So on to the status reports. Management reports.
I don't have any of them.
That was from Doreen.
It'll all be under action.
Okay. Mike, anything from you to highlight?
I'll just add that continuing to have conversations, I think I had it in there, management report about the grant opportunities that are just released. I had another discussion with somebody yesterday who is very interested in both the Restore New York as well as New York Main Street. So there's opportunities for that grant in the New York Main Street, both here in Penn Yan as well as potentially Dundee. They have a couple different avenues. One's an anchor project, which would be a larger grant to a single building, as well as a program that's more community development. So it would be multiple buildings within that Main Street district for both commercial, first floor renovations and upper floor residential. So there's definitely some opportunities there with grant submissions being required or due in the end of July. So we'll be able to focus on that here over the next couple months. And then
Mike's talking about the statewide CFA process, right?
Yep.
So that's
Yep.
all announced now, and across the state, people can
So
apply.
with the budget being finally approved a couple weeks ago, it took about a week or so for the state to announce the programs and deadlines for their applications. So just came out earlier this week, so we're diving into that.
And the deadline would be the end of July.
Correct.
It's kind of a quick turnaround, isn't
That's
it?
for the New York Main Street program,
Mhm.
which is through Homes and Community Renewal. Some of the other state agencies have programs that are more on a rolling basis. So it really kind of depends on what program you're applying for and what and when is the deadlines for those. Met with the Community Table Committee last week. We put out an application to nonprofits to be the beneficiary for the event's proceeds. I think we received a total of 18 different application requests, and we scored them, reviewed them, and ultimately awarded the community center, Yates County Community Center, for their field house project to be the beneficiary for the dinner, for this year's dinner. Last year, we donated 10,000 to Pitco, so somewhere in that ballpark will be probably likely awarded to the community center as well this year.
Good. You'll let us know, or could you let us know when those tickets are?
The event is
available?
September 9th. Tickets likely will go on sale August 1st.
Okay.
And I think this year we're doing 2 separate releases. So last year it sold out, one release sold out in about 6 hours. This year, to allow people additional opportunity to get those tickets, we'll release them in smaller batches, but at 2 separate dates and times, so that if you're not available on August 1st at 10 a.m., you'll have another opportunity as well. The only change that we're looking at this year for ticket sales is we're going to offer a VIP purchase option. It would be, you have to, basically, essentially buying a table. So it's always been a general admission, first come, first served seating. And you get there and no assigned seats. So this year, if you buy a table, you have to buy all 8 seats. You would have your 8 seats reserved. There'll probably be champagne service, some additional features that you get for that, because it will be a little bit of a higher price point. So instead of $125 a ticket, it will be $150 a ticket, and you have to buy all 8 to qualify for that. But it will allow people that are set on sitting with their guests or who they're attending with the ability to get the table and some other additional features that are still being worked out.
Nice. Okay, good.
Only updates would be, I guess the largest one we're still working through on the potential housing development, the rental rate challenge on the max income levels, which we discussed last time, that I didn't think were, they didn't work. They were too low. So had a meeting with, phone conversation with Lenny Skrill, who oversees housing community renewal grants for the state. He mentioned about 7 or 8 different acronyms right away that we could look at, none of which made any sense to me. He's like, just get me on the phone with the developer. I've worked with him before. We can try to discuss and figure out ways to make it work. So we're hoping maybe Monday we'll have that conversation to try to keep that moving forward to add the housing. On the council side, which was mentioned, the CFAs were announced. We had a meeting this past month at Genesee Community College, and once again, they were offered to go around and just kind of state what your primary concerns are, what your focus is for the upcoming year anyways, and once again, all the way around the table was regulatory reforms from the state that we really want to help us move the economy forward. We've got to get New York State, working quicker on these approvals and making it way less onerous than what it is to get through. And the deputy director, I think it is, for economic development was there. I don't know if he has any say whatsoever in getting some of those departments, specifically DEC, to move. But again, I'm not saying anything you don't know. It's across the board in the state. It takes forever to get anything through. We're still waiting on like the Water Street townhomes, and once again is hung up with the Attorney General's office trying to get through the condo plans, and the NICEAG building is still awaiting DEC approval on the cleanups, and it takes a really long time to get through anything. Dormitory Authority on the housing aspect, they require you use them for the debt financing, and they are acknowledging they can't get to anything now. They're out through 2025. So it's kind of a weird time. So that came through loud and clear, and I just voiced my frustrations that they talk about the regional council focusing on a bottom-up approach to economic development, and they think that's what's made these regional councils so successful. And I just brought up that we have, every single year, the bottom-up approach gets attacked by our certain state political representatives, and said some right in our region that like to put out bills every year that try to reduce the power or the authority that local economic development organizations have, and it would be nice to meet with them prior to them writing those bills so they can get an understanding of what it is we're doing and really address what they think the challenges are. Unfortunately, the specific assemblyman I was talking to in our region was not there. His aide was there, and he stared at me the entire time he spoke. But I'll follow back up with him to try to have that conversation.
He introduced legislation that limit.
Harry Bronson did. Yeah, trying to take away school pilots, the school portion of the taxes from pilots. Because they talk about how much it's costing the schools in the states, and then they used a fictitious number that all of the pilots don't even add up to in the state, don't add up to what they said the schools are losing.
Mm-hmm.
So actually Camoin Associates, the State Economic Development Council worked with Camoin Associates to develop a report just on the effectiveness of and the impact of IDAs and local economic developments, and it was just released, and it highlights many of those items.
Was it in our packet or no?
I will forward it to you. I don't think I did. It literally just kind of came out. But 1.3, and this was for 2021, so it's, even though it's still a little bit off, but 1.3 million permanent jobs, 141 billion in annual wages. There were, for every tax dollar abated, $6.50 in new tax revenue was generated. The total amount of school taxes that are abated annually equals 0.5% of the annual spending on K through 12 education. And that $339 million in new revenue was generated for school districts through pilots annually. So it's interesting that, you know, the actual data completely contradicts what was reported, and that's what we got to start getting out. And there's been a couple articles in our local, like in the Finger Lakes Times, challenging it, and I think I haven't wanted to, but I think I'm going to put together just a little response to here's where we are. I need to sort of give any credence to what they're putting out there, but at some point we got to kind of try to get the real facts out there. And for us, again, this is a reminder, 2022, I think I talked about this after our parish report went in. We generated $3.34 million in pilot payments just through our actions here, and that's the actual payments out. The opponents never talk about the actual payments made, they just talk about how much is abated. They just conveniently forget or are unaware that there are payments being made.
Where is their information coming from? Is it like teachers' unions that are trying to make sure that school funding is
That's a good question.
protected, or?
Maybe.
So I think that that's a big question, because when you find out where the power is and who has the ear, sometimes that helps you come closer together on what's actually happening.
That's the idea, even some more basic, or the underlying premise of the IDAs and local economic development is that you're incentivizing projects that wouldn't happen otherwise. And so the abatement is on the increase in the tax value, the assessment, not taking anything away.
Right.
You're not actually taking away tax revenue, you're preventing the payments on the increase or preaching to the choir, but that premise is not well understood, and it is confusing.
I
And
think a lot of people think they're not paying taxes at all.
their
Right.
the spin that's out there and what they're promoting is that you're taking it away, and it's not the fact that, you know, you created new, it's just that the company has a graduated schedule to pay it.
Yeah, and I think that it's frequently it's the unions and the trying to explain the complexity of a financial arrangement to the people that are impacted or feel like they're being impacted negatively is always the challenge. But I think we can do it. It's just a matter of having an audience.
And I bet we push back through the EDC back to the local IDAs. Like it's on us to get in front of
Mhm.
our communities and our media,
Mhm.
our local medias, and explain it and get those reports out there more, which is
Mhm.
part of these reports. But, you know, it's great to show the bigger picture statewide. You have to tell the story in your own
Yeah.
local communities as well. And I think most are, it's moving that way, it's picking up, it's just so are the attacks. So it's, we have to increase on that aspect of it.
Increase the PR campaign aspect
Yep.
of it.
Yeah, yeah. And we finished up the 10th, it's only the third year I've worked on it, but the 10th annual, Who Is Penny Ann project that Cuca College runs, the local residents, which was, it's really neat to see how there's always the talk out there that locals don't like the college kids coming into town and all that sort of thing, and which I personally haven't seen, but it's funny, you get them together and there's no, just there's instant conversations had. Like it's wild to see, and you can see like Jenny Joyner, who's the oversees it for Cuca. She just shakes her head and sees students who she struggles with to get them to engage in class, just yapping away with whoever their interviewee is, and the byproducts of it. We actually had 2 field periods come about it from people who weren't familiar with the programs and all that, and through the people they interviewed, they offered up a field period for this next semester. So
It's so important. I can't overstate to you the importance of that particular program and perhaps our ability to expand it, because there is definitely racism and discrimination within the community that is abated when people know each other. But I've got faculty and staff who have students who are in the Penn Yan school system who are not treated well, who don't look like everybody else in the community. And that's a problem, because it's very difficult to recruit people as it stands in this job market. And if we can't start to understand each other better, we are going to continue to struggle. And it's not just about race, it's about new people coming into the community, because I could speak for my own children in the district, and it's tough. It's a very close community, and it takes effort to integrate, I think. So anything that we can continue to do from the college's side is going to be important. I'm in conversation all the time with the local superintendents, but it really takes getting to know people as opposed to as, oh, well, that's a college student. Oh, well, that's a
right.
person who grew up here. Like, no, we're just people. So,
Right. Yep.
I agree with Amy, and the sad part is that, like, for me and even for Amy, I would say that we're very well off, and that there's people in the community that are not well off, and that if we struggle, the conversations I have are like, what about the people that aren't well off?
yeah.
And if we have to struggle, then how do we expect others to come into the community and need to even do much more because they're not accepted?
Yeah.
So it is very hard.
It's heartbreaking.
Mhm.
And in terms of economic development, it's a hindrance.
Mhm.
So
It is.
that is why I would say this group needs to concern itself with that. And I think the program you just highlighted is one way, not the only way, but one way to break down some of those barriers.
Sorry. It's a
Great.
great reason to try to figure out some
Great
okay.
program.
That was it.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for these guys on the management reports or anything contained in there? Okay, then we're gonna move on to our action items, and we'll start with number 1, which are the new leases, and there is at least one renewal.
I'll start on the renewal. Dr. Shapiro has requested a 1-year renewal. He rents the front of the Seneca building where Church Great Authority is. He's an eye doctor, but I get, we usually do 2 years. He requested 1 year. with the $765 a month plus $225 for utilities, and he rents 900 square feet.
Okay. Do you
Just
wanna
go through
just
all
go
of
through,
them?
yeah, go through the other ones too, and we'll have one action. So what are the new leases?
So I'm working with Leslie Tarosi. She runs the financial planning company. She is looking to rent the office right down the hall here. It's 460 square feet. It'll be $400 a month lease with utilities for a two-year, 24-month lease.
Okay.
And then I have Voorhees Family Chiropractic. That is going to take Suite 101. It was formerly an office space that Esterbrook had within the hallway down here that we built new offices for them within their space, so they vacated that. They'll be taking that space, which is 265, if I can read my handwriting. Could be 45. 265 square feet. $300 a month, which includes utilities for a year.
And that's in the front hallway here?
Yep. On the left-hand side. If you're walking that direction.
Across from Jake.
I have no idea if that's north, south, east, or.
East, yeah, that's good.
So it's that way.
All right, is that, so there's the two new leases and one renewal, okay? Could we have a motion to approve those leases?
So moved.
Moved, Amy.
Seconded.
Seconded, Tim. Is there any further discussion or questions on the leases? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's carried. Item 2 here is the CD matrix, CD discussion.
Take it, you want
Go ahead.
to? All right. Did they get the rates?
Yes.
given up? Okay. Our recommendation, unless there's any other input or guidance, would be to go based on the rates with a 60-day CD approval at 5-star for 4.95%. They're 4.95 across the board, which is the highest across the board. But between the 30 and 60, I think there's going to be a whole lot of change in that time frame, so 60 would be a little bit easier than having to redo this every 30 days. So, unless there's any.
And then how much do you want to wait, because we have to start another money market account to get that. That was at the bottom of the slip. 755 in the current.
Should move that over to 755.
That's
Yeah, so we move whatever is in there over.
okay.
So I move that we purchase a CD 60-day, what's the 755,000?
No, the CD's over 1 million. The CD's at the top, and then to go to 5-star, we have to create a money market account.
Oh, I'm fine. Okay, I'm fine.
So the
I'm
CD
fine.
is 1,010,000.
The 700 doesn't
And
have
the-
to go.
And the
but you
whole
have to
full
open an account.
755 doesn't have to go over.
You just have to
the-
create it as,
We just
create a
have
money
to create a
market.
new account.
Okay, so I move that.
So
I'll
we're moving the
second.
full
Yes.
750, okay.
The CD recommendation is the 60-day at 495 at 5-star.
Yes. Yep.
And Serene second.
Serene seconded. Any further discussion on that? I'm going to abstain from. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And one abstention. Okay. So we're going to move on to item 3, and that'll be a surprise when this opens up. Yeah, there we go. The roof bids. Let's turn it back to Doreen.
So the roof bids were sent to 7 different companies. I did have someone call and decline because they basically did more repair and worked with Mennonite contractors. He didn't think insurance would be a problem, but I said, well, we have to have that insurance. So I ended up with 2 bids from D. Miller Company in Seneca Falls and Spring Sheet Metal and Roofing out of Rochester. I think the gentleman that owns that does live locally in Yates County. I didn't see that he So, building number 7 is not necessary, it's not leaking or anything like that, we just said we'd get a price for future budgeting, we do not need to do that at this time. There's quite a difference in price here. So D.E. Miller, total for the 3 buildings was $105,336,000, and Spring Sheet is $165,630 for all 3. Wow. That's good.
We've used them both.
Yeah,
in the
we've used
past.
them both. Joe didn't have a problem, he said they both have done good work.
And the 3 buildings are the outer buildings at the
Sheds
back.
In the way back.
Yes.
in the way back.
So you guys,
Yeah.
yeah, now we're coaching equipment's in the main one, but along the very back side of the property.
Yeah. So where Coach is, and then the next shed over, where we store the lawnmower and the salt and all that stuff, that one really needs it, and Coach does leak. So those 2, building 8 and 9 definitely need it. Building 7, for that one is $32,125. So, but,
But that's the one you're saying we
Yeah.
don't need to do right
Yeah,
now?
I think we just do 8 and 9.
okay, and so that would be 32 for that. You're looking at, can't add in my head to this moment.
73,
There you
150.
go, yeah.
So building 8's 47,600, building 9 is 25,500,
23.
which compared to these others,
Yeah. D. Miller's definitely the lower bid, and I can pass these around to people and see. That might be
why
easier.
don't we do that? So we're looking at buildings 8 and 9
Mm-hmm.
versus 8 and 9 here, so there's
Yeah.
$30,000 difference overall between
Mhm.
just the 2.
That's a lot.
It's a significant difference.
And you've worked with both of them, and you were happy with D.E. Miller?
Yep.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Pass that all the way around so everybody sees it, and then we'll have a.
These are the numbers,
vote
yeah.
on it.
Do you know, do you have a date of when?
No, I do not. I think I put in the specs I had to have it done by the end of October.
Okay.
All right, so we've all seen the numbers. The D.E. Miller is the lower of the 2 bids and a qualified contractor, so I'd ask for a motion to accept that and approve moving forward with them.
So moved. Cutler.
Seconded.
Okay. Thank you, Kim. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, carried. On to the ceiling, parking lot ceiling.
I've only received one price. Ontario Paving never showed up. He said he'd call, he never came, so, the total, because they forgot to include one area out back of the Seneca building that's dug up that really needs to be done, so between the 2 areas, and if you drove around the back parking lot, you can see where they've painted off a bunch of spots. The total would be $16,530, Shuttleworth, from Shuttleworth.
This is more of a
Pull on.
Band-Aid
Yeah.
to fix
Temporary
the
Band-Aid.
fix the needs we definitely have, get the roofs done,
Mhm.
and then hit larger sections of the parking lot, which will be really expensive to eventually get.
Which I had
Get done.
ceiling on the agenda to really repair.
So these are
Okay.
almost, I don't know if they're emergency fixes, but they're needed.
Yeah. There's some big pothole out there that needs some major repair.
It would be good, I think, over the summer into the fall before the next budget cycle. I know you guys have a kind of a capital planning
Yep.
document or needed repairs. It would be good to circulate that ahead of the budget cycle just to see where strategically things, bigger chunk things are coming up here over the next 2 to 3 years. Just to keep everybody on the same page. Been doing a nice job of making that commitment every year. It's a very valuable, we rely on the resource, the cash flow that the buildings generate, so we need to make sure we secure that investment.
Yep.
Keep investing in the building,
Mhm.
especially as we have funds available. So you guys are doing a great job on that. So, I don't think there's anything that requires us to have other competing bids for this at this level. So we have one here, the 16,530 for Shuttleworth. It's something I'm comfortable with, but we'll see. I guess we'll start with a motion and we can have other discussion.
Motion to accept that bid.
Second.
Second, Tim. Is there any further discussion, any concerns with that before we call for a vote? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
I will
that's
say
carried.
they did say they could do it the first week in June, so they
No, I got right now.
right on it. So
Good. All right, so the next item are pending loans. We have one loan request.
Yep, we have a loan request from Jeremy Weaver. He is seeking an $80,000 loan from us at 2%, reduced down to 1% with automatic payments. It would be a 5-year term. Collateral, UCC filing on all assets, a mortgage on property at 1442 Earls Hill Road, and personal guarantees from Jeremy Weaver and his parents, Kenneth and Pauline Weaver. Project is to support a organic grass-fed beef cattle operation.
with the contingency.
Contingency on following up with the loan review committee and their sign-off, accepting that there are operating funds available for the project, which are there, and we have confirmed with Jeremy.
Move to approve.
Okay, thanks, Amy.
Second?
Seconded, Tim. Any further discussion on the loan approval? All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's carried. Our last action item for this meeting anyway is the pilot amendment for Benton Ridge trusses.
I think we need approval just to modify.
Yeah, so we're gonna end up modifying an existing pilot for Benton Ridge Trusses, which has a house on the parcel. So when they put up their truss manufacturing facility, there was a residential house on the site already. So the original pilot detailed the property, and so that house got included within the pilot. It was calculated under the base value, so the house itself wasn't necessarily receiving any additional benefits. I brought it up to the assessor at the time, who stated that to me, like, well, it's on the base value, so it's not really receiving any benefits. So, okay, but, and then the
Supervisor.
town supervisor brought it up again as a concern, so, how it gets amended is to be seen. I'd recommend it back to the town. Ideally, the easiest thing would be to just create a new parcel and subdivide the house off of the manufacturing site, which would make the most sense. And then we don't really even have to amend the pilot. The existing tax ID parcel would still be included. So, at least I don't think it'd have to be amended, that maybe the description of the boundary would have to change.
Yeah, that's the only thing, just in the lease back, but otherwise that should be it.
Pretty straightforward.
So,
And the supervisors, when I talked to him about it, he said, we'll do what's needed to make it happen, so that shouldn't be any issue to have it subdivided.
so I guess we would need approval from the board just to make the modification to remove the house from the pilot.
So moved, Cutler.
Second, Mary Ann.
Okay, and then I do have a question further discussion. So right now, we're not sure if it's gonna separate out, deed it out separately. It may then need a backup option of kind of prorating it so that the assessment on the house can increase over time and not just be stuck at the base value. Is that kind of a backup option if they can't?
We'll get it, we'll remove it.
It's gonna get.
In one way or the other, we'll get it off of the pilot. It could be they create what some of the assessors have done in the past, have created a suffix ID. So like say it ends in .1 now, they'd do a .1/1
Okay.
and almost set it on top of it, and it would just detail that particular property. But well, I'd like to have it fully removed
Yeah.
from the pilot.
Just want to make sure our motion is inclusive of the different options that are there and not just as a removing from the parcel. So I'd maybe just ask for the motion to be amended to allow for the different options, but the end goal would be to remove the house from the pilot entirely, which is the way it should be. Is that okay with everybody? On that, vote on that? On the motion. This should probably be a roll call, which is what we do with the pilots. So I'm a yes.
Yes.
Marianne?
Serene,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Kim.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Our next meeting, scheduled meeting is June 21st for this entity. So I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Governor.
All right. Second?
Seconded.
All right. So our EDC meeting is now adjourned. I'd ask for a motion to resume our Horizon EDC meeting for local Horizon.
So moved, Amy.
Okay, thanks, Amy.
Second.
And seconded, Marianne. So we're back, and where we left off in our Horizon EDC meeting, before Kim and Serene were here, was just the introduction of guests. But we do need to enter into an executive session for this entity, for the discussion of company financials. So I'd like to ask for that motion.
So moved, Governor.
Thank you, Tim.
Second.
And seconded, Amy. Okay. Michael, let us know when the live stream is paused. here when he gets us
I gotta get
live
it.
streaming again, so we can have it in the minutes.
We are live.
Thanks, Mike.
Move to resume.
Okay, thank you, Tim.
Seconded.
Seconded, Kim. All right, we're back in open session. Our next agenda item is the review and approval of our minutes from April 19th. Ask for a motion to approve those minutes.
Seconded.
Serene and seconded by Kim. Any further discussion on the minutes or changes? No? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. I don't think we have any changes. I don't think we have a finance report for this one. So we're gonna move right on to our action items. And item 1 is a pending loan modification. Mike would summarize for us.
So, Seneca Suds, the laundromat in Dundee, partners Donald and Chastity Green have requested to be removed from the loan. Raymond and Barbara Crosby Willis will remain on the partnership and operating the business. Loan review committee has reviewed and voted to recommend the release of the Greens from the loan.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Ask for a motion to approve that release.
So moved. Cutler.
Second.
Thank you, Tim and Serene. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions? Aye. All right, so item 2 is a pending new loan approval.
Flora Enterprise LLC is looking to start a new retail business on Main Street in Penn Yan. They are seeking $40,000 to assist in the renovations and purchase of equipment. To set that up, interest rate would be 7.6% reduced to 6.6% with automatic loan payments. Collateral on the loan would be a UCC filing on all assets and personal guarantee from Charles Thompson and Rose Curry.
Okay,
Move to approve.
thank you, Tim.
Seconded.
Seconded, Kim. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And any abstentions? Aye. All right, so those 2 action items are approved. Our next meeting will be as needed when we have agenda items, as early as next month. And with that, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Serene.
Second.